YouTube is up. Love that you look at that light, but looks like that's how it's going to be. All right. Good. Staying in, Jinxie. All right, see. You going to feed? All right. Where are we? I'm always cutting my head off on these. Sorry, YouTube guys. Let's see if I can fix it without messing everything else up. I will. That's usually what happens, I go to fix something and it makes something else not right. Good enough. And we're close. So I will start chatting. I wasn't sure how we were going to go today because you know how one project turns into 10 more. So there's a project going on this morning. I just have a little bit of a reprieve. So here we are. I was reading an article about how life goes so fast, right? We chat about it, and it's like every time you turn around, it's Monday again. What is Monday? The only one that feels like that. But but it does. Like as you get a little bit older, time feels like it's passing faster. And add that to the frenetic pace of life anymore, right? And it's just a little bit chaotic. And the article talked about how so many yoga practices are kind of falling into the same, I don't want to call it a trap exactly, but they're not helping the situation, right? So all those crazy aggressive yoga flows where you just end up covered in sweat and, it just adds to that go mentality that we have. And really, the first yoga was sitting and just being present, right? So that's the absolute opposite of that go thing. So how we turned it into that, I don't know, but we did. So today we're going to sort of bring it back, right? We're not just going to sit and be present, right? But we're going to really slow down our poses and be really present in them and think about the foundation and think about the alignment of the spine and think about how you feel overall in a pose, right? You may or may not have ever had this experience, but like people will just end up sobbing in Shavasana at the end, right? Or in a hip opener that they'll have this big emotional release, right? So what the sensations are in your body, whether it's about your hip or whether it's about your mind, right? So that's kind of going to be the focus. I'm going to remind you a lot to think about how this feels or that feels, or if anything is coming up, right? I'll be just kind of reminding you to take a little second while we're in that pose a little longer to get that sensation, right? And really help try and keep your mind focused, because if you're holding Warrior 2 for 5 breaths or 10 breaths or whatever it might be, besides thinking about how your thigh might be quivering a little bit by the end, right? You want to think about all of the other things that happen in that pose that sometimes we just sort of fly through and don't consider. So that's what we're going to do. Remember, you can always modify things or leave something out or change something up. If you feel like in the middle you need to go to the wall and do a headstand, then go right ahead, right? If that's your practice, that's not me telling you to do that, right? So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and come to a comfortable seat. And hopefully Phoebe won't interrupt us too badly, right? Aligning the heels to the groin as much as you can. Remember, if you need to prop up to sit, definitely prop up. Make sure you are upright on your pelvis. So all this preparation to simply sit, right, is a big deal, right? Otherwise, you just sit down on the couch and think about that. So, so thinking about how we're sitting, thinking about the pelvic floor lifting up, the lower belly's pulled in and up. We're engaged through the sides, but try and relax into those hips and the shoulders, places that you may feel like you need to bring tension to. Right? Closing your eyes even, and just taking a moment. You're going to take this moment in all of these poses. So start now. How do you feel? What else is going on in your body? What's your breath doing? And again, try not to change it. Just simply see if you can sort of catch yourself breathing. When we start to pay attention to it, a lot of times it does slow down. So go ahead and allow that to occur. Notice if your inhales get bigger before you start exhaling more completely. We kind of forget about that exhalation piece sometimes. And as the breath expands, maybe notice if there, at some point there's a catch in the breath or some other sensation that you might find. And then allow yourself to settle on that nice, full, just beyond comfortable yoga breath. Keeping this awareness of every tiny little thing that's happening. Let's add more. Extend the arms out to the sides. On the next inhale, stretch them up toward the ceiling. And then exhale, bring them back down again. And see if your arms reflect your breath. So they touch the floor when you're empty. And they inhale and they come together when your lungs are perfectly full. Right? See how much you can make them match. We're going to spend just a couple more breaths like that, up and down. Just really connecting the breath to that movement. Do one more like that. Inhaling up. And then exhaling down, fingertips to the mat. So let's inhale, lift them up again. Exhale, take your right hand down. Give yourself a little tip. We're going to hold here, so don't worry about moving with the breath just a second. Think about your foundation. Think about the length of your spine. Notice what your left shoulder is doing. Has it climbed up by your ear? Has it rolled forward toward your chest? With the next inhale, we're going to come back up to the top. And then go ahead and exhale your arms. So bringing the awareness to these tiny little places, right? Let's do that again. Inhale, lift up. This time, exhale the left hand down. And then the same thing, just hold here for a moment. See if you can reroute your right sit bone. Maybe you can extend the length of your spine, extend the crown of the head out to the left-ish. Maybe it's your shoulder that needs to come into alignment. And remember, if it's too much with the arm overhead, take the hand to the hip. It's about where the shoulder is. Okay? Stretching the side body. Take another big breath here. Notice whatever sensation it might be for you. And then on the inhale, bring yourself back up to the top, and we'll exhale the arms again. Okay. So we're going to take that same observation back over to the first side and go deeper. So inhale up, exhale over to the right. Find all those little pieces that you did before. And then see if you can sink into that stretch just a little bit deeper and notice what's changed. Take another breath here. Inhaling, come back up to the top. Exhale both arms. How do you feel right now? What's going on in your side bodies? Is there a difference? Come back to the top, inhale. Exhale the left hand and take that little bit deeper stretch to this side. So just taking a moment, noticing the changes, noticing if you've got a deeper stretch this time or not. And then we'll come on up to the top again and release the arms. So let's take the right hand to the left knee, left hand behind the back. Little baby twist over to the left here. So this twist is as if you had just been, someone called your name behind you and you turned, right? And notice where in your body, where the habit is. It's not the word I want, but you get the idea, right? Sitting nice and tall, make sure your foundation is even. And then nice and gentle, release that back to the top. We're gonna move to the second side, same idea as if someone had called your name behind you. Okay? Where in your spine do you feel this most? Are you sitting as tall as you could? Take another big breath. And then come on back to the center. Back to that first side again, setting it up a little differently though. So take your left hand right behind your bottom and then press into the floor. Helps. Right. Helps keep the pelvis aligned, helps lengthen the spine here. Taking the right hand to the knee without letting the right shoulder come toward your chest. So maybe you don't touch the knee. Right. Pulling against the knee a little bit, think rotating the belly button. Rotating through your side ribs. Rotating that left shoulder back, maybe looking over your shoulder, looking or twisting even through your eyeballs here. And then take a second. Are you still aligned? Are you still nice and tall? Where in the spine do you feel the most sensation now? Let's take one more nice big breath. And then gently release as you unwind back to center and move to the second side. So using your arms, right? Using the support here, checking in with your alignment as you rotate from the belly through the side ribs to the shoulder, looking over the shoulder. And remember, if one area of the spine is not loving this, back off that area. Nice big breaths. That's what this extra little moment is for, to check out, is this right for my body today? Let's release that unwinding back to the center again. And we're going to come around onto all fours. So hands and knees, wrists under your shoulders, or knees under your hips. Fingers point forward. Be very aware of the four corners of your hands. Always, always, always spreading the weight nice and even here. So normally we flow through cat-cow, but this time, of course, we're gonna hold it for a second. So go ahead and drop your belly toward the floor. Think lifting your tailbone toward the ceiling, pulling the shoulder blades together on the back, and extending the sternum, the chest, forward. So even here, you've got some space. If anything feels pinched, make sure you stop. If you can realign and start again, that's great. And if your body is just, this isn't happening, then don't worry about it, right? Noticing the sensations here, looking forward or up a little bit, maybe try not to jut your chin out. Take one more breath. And now reverse that. Start at your tailbone, though. Turn your tailbone toward the floor. Start arching through your lower back. Can you keep your shoulder blades rolling together as you arch your lower back? Start lifting the center of your spine toward the ceiling. Spread those shoulder blades nice and wide. And imagine pulling your forehead towards your belly button. And hold. Push away from the floor really actively with the hands. Feel your lower belly working. How's your spine feel? And then gently release that, just come back to a neutral position. Right, so that might have been a little bit of work to make those two things happen. And we normally flow through that without much intention, right? So do that again. You won't hold it quite as long, but that's the idea. And start like we did before. So lift the tailbone this time. Sink your belly button. Pull your shoulders together on your back. And then lift your chest forward or reach your chest forward or whatever. However your brain sees that. Looking forward or up even a little bit. And then gently reverse that. Tuck the tailbone. Lift the lower back. Lift the spine. Spread your shoulder blades. Tuck your forehead toward your belly button. And then gently release to your neutral position. Let's go ahead and sit back in a child's pose. And remember to adjust, right? So if immediately your knees are like, nope, right? Maybe don't send your hips back so far, maybe cushion somewhere. You can stack your fists and rest your head on your fists or blocks if it's not going toward the floor. You can extend the arms long or not. Take them back by your heels, maybe if that feels better. Take a moment and notice if after a breath or two that you want to wiggle in a little bit somewhere, right? So maybe it's your chest that can drop in a little deeper. Maybe it's the weight of your head just really can sink into the floor or your hands at this point. I feel a really lovely release in my spine when I linger here a little. So see if you can find those tiny little adjustments that your body makes, even when it's doing nothing, right? So if they're not already, go ahead and stretch your arms long. And we're going to reach the arms as far away from the hips as we can. Right? Let your shoulders do what they want, right? So your shoulders want to start creeping forward, but then see if you can draw them back down. Leave where you put your hands, but see if you can muscularly draw your shoulders down towards your hips. You feel the work? It's ridiculous, isn't it? And then keeping that idea around the four corners of your hands, if they're not already, a lot of times that movement of the shoulders makes your hands kind of root a little, which is good. We're going to slide forward and come into a kneeling plank. And then just take a second, right? If you extend a little too long, you may have to move your hands. We want to find a neutral plank position here. Well, kneeling plank anyway. So nice and even on the four corners of the hands. Check in for the shoulders to be neutral. Your belly's working, so we're not sagging or sticking out back there. Find that middle. And then take the knees away from the floor and hold the same thing. See if your arms are working harder than maybe your belly, or maybe you're not feeling your legs engaging. Check it out. There's a billion things going on right now. Or maybe a billion is a lot, but you get the idea. Being present and noticing all of it as much as you can. Go ahead and drop back down to the knees. What released? Sit back in your child's pose. Let's do that again. Slide forward. Stay on the knees for a moment. We're going to add in, as we always do. Keeping everything in alignment here. Bend the elbows enough to bring them in line with the ribs. Stop and hover. Squeeze the elbows in, press back up, and lift the knees away from the floor and hold. What's working now? What's your breath doing? You can stay in a full plank if you want. Otherwise, drop back down to your knees, take that little dip again. How do you feel about that now? Push back up, sit back to your child's pose. We're going to do that sequence one more time, right? And when you need to want, or you want, or need to lift your knees, go ahead. When you need to or want to drop your knees, feel free to do that, right? Listen to every little cue your body is giving you. So we're going to come back to kneeling plank. You can take full if you want. Take the dip. Hug those elbows tight to the ribs. Push back up. Take a full plank and hold. Stay in full plank if you'd like. Otherwise, maybe drop to the knees and take the dip again. Slow. This time to the belly. All the way down. And a lot of times, especially after you've been working like that, that descent to the floor can be a little out of control, right? So just take your time and try to stay in control. And notice where you lose it. There's a spot. Taking the toenails to the floor, turn the tailbone toward the floor, keep your lower back heavy. We're going to pull the shoulders up by the ears, together on the back, roll them down toward your hip bones, and curl your chest away from the floor. Keep the elbows in, the tailbone tucked, and lengthen the spine. Watch yourself breathe here. Notice what is doing the most work. Right? Do you feel your glutes more? Do you feel your triceps more, even though the arms aren't doing a ton? Even just hugging in sometimes is work. We're going to take one more breath here. And then release it. And just like always, even though we don't hold typically as long, we're going to add on to that piece. So you don't have to, of course, right? Set yourself up though. Toenails on the floor, tailbone turning toward the mat, shoulders rolling down and back, and the chest lifts. Here, adding in the arms intentionally, pull like you're pulling your belly button forward, and maybe press a little bit, lifting higher. Notice where is enough. Where is it too much? Where do you feel like you're resting? Because it's not resting. We're going to take one more nice big breath here. Open your chest, and then release it back down. We're going to take that one more time. And of course, changing up, adding it on, stepping back if you've had enough, right? Toenails on the floor, tailbone turning toward the mat, rolling the shoulder blades, keep them down and back, pulling and pressing into the hands. Take your arms almost straight if you can. Don't lock the joint, that's cheating. Keeping the chest open, shoulders down and back, maybe lift the thighs, all the fun things. Where do you feel it now? Let's gently release what we got here. Make a little pillow for your head with your hands. And then turn the toes toward each other and just gently rock back and forth on your hips. What recovers first? After you've expended that energy, what relaxes immediately and what is like, oh my gosh, still hard, right? Or still feeling sensation. Let's go ahead and take those hands back by the side ribs. Hug them in. Pressing the knees into the floor, we're gonna come up into that half plank, I guess. Maybe half push-up, I'm not sure. Kneeling half plank, how's that? All the way up, hold. Lift the knees if you lift the knees at this point. Hold. And then back down to the knees and into child's pose. Where do your arms want to be now? Stretching the arms out long again. We're going to lift into our down dog. And allow yourself to wiggle and stretch here. From down dog, we're just gonna bring the right foot forward and come into a lunge. So go ahead and drop the back knee. Bring your ankle up underneath your knee here, checking that alignment. Go ahead and wiggle into your hips a little bit. Haven't done much with those yet. Finding your center here, pulling the legs toward each other. Let's take the right leg straight-ish. So maybe you find that the stretch is really intense before you get the knee bent. If that's where you are, that's where you are. You can prop up, blocks up on the thigh or shin if that's where you need to be. And just kind of sit with it. Notice if you flex your foot, if that feels more natural or does it bump up the intensity too much? Notice if you've rounded your back. Think flat. It's not flat, but you get the idea. And then bend back into that knee again and let your hips sink low. Keep the chest long. Bring the right hand to the hip and add a little twist in here, rotating around. Just like we did. And notice the similarities from our initial twist and the differences. Gently release that. You can absolutely leave the left knee on the floor. Otherwise, lift it away and take the right leg straight again. So moving deeper into the stretch if your body tells you you're ready for that. If you give it a go and it's not good, drop the back knee again. Or if you realize you're snoozing a little bit with that back knee down, maybe it's time to lift it. Just taking the time to make the assessment. It's not judgment, right? It's just what is going on, what's observable. Let's go ahead and bend back into this knee. Left knee up or down. We're going to climb up on the thigh this time. Go ahead and lift the chest, coming up as vertical as you can with your upper body without bending into the back knee unless it's on the floor, of course. Sink into your hips here. The hands can stay supporting. They can extend toward the ceiling. Maybe interlace behind your back if that's what you're feeling. Notice what you need here. Take your time. We're going to take one more breath. And then gently release back to the lunge. Walk your hands around into the center of a straddle. Adjusting your feet, maybe wider, maybe more narrow. Toes point forward and let yourself hang. Where is the sensation and where is comfortable, right? Some of these poses look so insane, comfortable just doesn't even make sense, right? But what's really going on? Maybe there is a little bit of comfort somewhere. We're going to take the hands and walk them around toward the left foot and lunge toward the back of the mat. So even the transitions between poses, take your time, right? We're going to start with that right knee on the floor, wiggle around into the hips here a little bit. And then go ahead and take that right leg straight. Same idea on this side. And try not to judge, oh, I got the right leg straight, so the left leg should be straight. No, not really. See what's going on. And then bend back into the knee. Sink into the hips. Pulling the legs toward each other, keeping the spine nice and long. Bring the left hand to the hip and add in that little bit of a twist here. And again, just noticing what's different, what's the same. Releasing the twist. And again here, deciding if you want the knee up or down. When you're ready, take the left leg straight again. Checking in with the body. What is it that you need? What happens if you really think about the four corners of your left foot or your shoulders on your back? Stretching back through the right heel. And then bending back into the left knee. Sink the hips. Keeping that right leg straight as much as you can. Remember, you can always drop the right knee. Climb up. Bringing the upper body as vertical as you can. Pressing through the back heel. And then taking the arms where you want to take the arms. Maybe more of a chest opener. Maybe you're just hanging on for dear life. What's shaking first? Sometimes it's the breath, right? Gently release what you got here. Walk your hands back around to the center. And again here, adjust. And fold. See if you can find a little bit of comfort again. So if they're not already, go ahead and bend your knees. Take your index and middle fingers, we're gonna wrap them around the big toes. Stay even on the four corners of the feet. Elbows out to the sides, maybe a little pull on the toes. Releasing that and releasing the fingers behind the back. Shoulder pull toward each other, knuckles stretch away.
and then let's gently release. Taking the hands, walk them back around toward your right foot, and step to the top of the mat. Let's take a little bend in the knees here, and with an inhale, roll up through your spine, coming all the way to standing.
So we are going to actually move through our sun salutes, but we're going to slow them way down, right? We're going to take a full breath in each rather than inhale here, exhale there kind of idea, right? So just a little bit slower than before, mostly because we've already worked those areas. So that's the idea. But to plug in that space as you're flowing. Right? So you can hold forever and your mind is really focused and great. And then there's David moving very quickly. Let's try and blend those two a little bit. So let's see. All right. So we're going to inhale and exhale as we get to the top. Right? Take that extra space. And then inhale and exhale all the way to the floor. Come halfway up, inhale. Exhale here as well. And then next inhale, go ahead and step yourself back into your plank or kneeling plank. Exhale. Inhaling as you drop down nice and slow. You don't have to stop in the middle, but take that entire inhale and exhale to get to the floor. Kind of. And then inhale as you roll into your cobra, using the exhalation to hold for a moment. Inhale, gently release all the way down. Need a little extra space here. Exhale. Inhale as you make your way up and into down dog. Exhaling. Inhaling as you come and step forward. Take a full breath. Inhale and exhale, getting back to your standing fold. Inhaling halfway up. Hold for the exhale. Inhale as you move back into that fold. And exhale again. Inhaling all the way up to the ceiling. Take that extra exhale here. Stretch. And then with your next inhale, go ahead and release the arms. And exhale and just hold. Right? So it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Just giving it that little bit of extra time. Right? So go ahead and do that one more time. I'm not going to necessarily cue, right? So use your breath. And if it's not quite the whole exhalation or whatever, don't stress it. Just make it slow. We'll see what that looks like. So go ahead and begin inhaling. You're on your own. Take a peek if you get lost. Unless you went really, 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 really slow, you might be with me. And since we went through all of that earlier, we'll leave it at that. So just play with the idea, right? Wherever, whatever pose you're in. Take a nice big step back with the left foot. We're gonna work into warrior two, so right toes forward, left toes cut in. Go ahead and bend into the right knee. So standing poses are a little bit more fun when you hold longer. So find the four corners of your feet, make sure you can see your big toe. Hips are level. Go ahead and stretch your arms. Looking over the right fingertips. And then spend a few breaths. Maybe check out your feet. Maybe it's your hips you're feeling. Like we talked about earlier, maybe it's this right thigh that's shaking already. Right? And don't worry or don't judge again. Right? Just noticing these sensations. Simply being observant. Let's gently take the right leg straight. Reach forward of the toes and slowly hinge over. So once you're here, checking out the foundation again, keeping the hips open, shoulders stacked, looking up or not. Remember, this right or left hand could be on the hip and you could be looking toward the floor even. If that's the modifications you need. And then notice. Where is the sensation? Can you find comfort? Bend into the right knee again, rest the forearm on the thigh, and bring this left arm over the ear. If you need to be leaning with the arm on the leg, go ahead. Otherwise, it's just some place for the arm to hang out for a minute or two. How's your breathing? We're going to release this over into lunge. Again, here, feel free to leave the back knee or take the back knee to the floor. Prop up if you need to prop up, of course. Bring the right hand to the hip, and let's add in a twist. Take your time. Find the sensation. And then let's release the twist. Lock your hands back into the center of the straddle. And we're going to take the hands, toes point forward, take the hands to the hips. If you need to rest them on your thighs for support, feel free. Otherwise, we're going to come halfway up and hold. Shoulders back, belly's working. Again, you can lean with your hands on your legs if you feel the need to do that. We're going to take one more breath. And then on an inhale, lift all the way up, nice and gentle. And we're moving to the second side. So these left toe or right toes should be in a little bit already. If they're not, make them that way. Turning your left toes toward the back of the mat, bending into the knee and finding our warrior two over here. So adjusting if the feet didn't land perfectly. Check out your pelvis, extend the arms when you're ready. And sit with it. Let's go ahead and transition to the triangle. So left leg straight, reach forward and hinge over. Take your time. Checking in with the alignment. All of those sensations. We're bending back into the knee, bringing the right arm alongside the ear. Go ahead and sink into those hips. Let's gently release it, come to lunge. Finding our balance here, the left leg is straight-ish. And then the left hand to the hip and rotate into your twist on this side. Releasing the twist. Walking the hands back to the center of your straddle. And again, letting yourself hang. We'll walk the hands back around to the right foot, lunging to the top of the mat, step back, down dog. From down dog, back to our child's pose. Let's come up on the heels, and we'll bring the legs around front, back to a seat. Extending the legs out long. Checking in that the pelvis is upright. Let's extend the arms, and we're gonna fold forward. So for a moment here, really think about your alignment. Flexing your feet, pressing through the big toe knuckle, turning the shoulders down and back, lifting the chest. So find all of this length. And then for the next little moment or so, just rest into it, right? So don't worry about touching your feet. You can just let your arms hang, let your head hang. Your spine will round a little bit here. Just rest into it. And notice the differences. Working back into your alignment. Shoulders down and back. Legs are more active. Let's take one more nice big breath. And then nice and easy here, go ahead and lift back up. Releasing the arms. So we'll take the feet flat to the floor. Go ahead and hang on to your hamstrings, C-curve your spine, and roll down to the back. Pulling the knees into the chest and rocking a little bit. Let's go ahead and keep the knees into the chest here. You can always modify this final twist if you need to. Extend the arms out to the sides. We're just going to let those legs fall to the right.
And remember, you can take different variations here, but maybe today just let yourself sink into this. Let it be all gravity. And again, if there's any pain or real discomfort, not just something that's different, then of course modify that or come out. Otherwise, just kind of sit with the sensations over here. And especially if this is when you don't do a bunch, you might notice something different. Take a couple more breaths over on this side. And then gently make your way back up to the middle again. And if you might have find or got a little bit crooked, go ahead and realign the spine and then just let the legs fall left. If you did take a different variation, try to work that same variation on your second side. Find where it is here. One more nice big breath over on this side. And then we'll make our way back to the middle. Hugging the knees in. Squeezing in tight. Forehead to knees. And then release it. Giving yourself a full body stretch. Releasing your stretch. And finding Shavasana. So whether you're going to stay reclined fully, feet flat to the floor, maybe come to a seated meditation. Legs up the wall if you like, of course. Release control of that breath. And then sit with your sensations here. Whether it's more physical, how your body is feeling, or whether you feel your emotional state is different. Just allow yourself to sit with that for a little minute.
like, you can stay longer in Shavasana, but if you're ready, gently deepen the breath. Restore movement to the body. Slowly and gently bringing yourself back up to a seated position. Sitting well. Bringing the palms to touch. Namaste. So hopefully that worked. Hopefully that was a nice soft way to begin a lovely relaxing weekend, maybe. So either way, even if you have a lot of craziness planned for this weekend, hopefully you can bring yourself back to this place where it's soft and easy and slow. So enjoy your weekend, whatever you are doing, and be sure to let me know if you've got questions or suggestions or whatever it might be. And I will see you next weekend. Maybe on the projects will be done. See you guys. Thank you.